Hello, I'm Dušan Stojičević. I'm chairman of the board of Serbian National Registry. And first of all, I would like to thank you all that you made it to come here. And I will start with one simple story because somebody asked me what is the meaning of this regional internet forum. Last year we started with one idea to gather CCTLDs from region, CCTLDs registry from the region, to start to collaborate each other upon the subjects that and problems that we all have in the region. But Serbian National Registry got involved in some organizing committees for some events that will be this year. And we suddenly realized that those subjects that we will cover on this CCTLD gathering are pretty much the same like those subjects that IGF will cover on their meetings. So, for the first time, Serbian National Registry will organize some form of debate, of dialogue with the people from the region, from the Southeastern Europe region, and we will cover three topics today. We will cover activities in the region. We will hear some presentations about success stories, about successful projects, and we will hear some problems or some stories about future events and everything. After that, we will talk about IDN. IDN is not only a technical question. IDN is also cultural and question for everybody who writes something, who use script that is not only Latin script. And after that, we will talk about multi-stakeholder model. Multi-stakeholder model is the model that the European Union push hard to our region, and we will hear the stories about successful and unsuccessful models that we have in the region. But general idea is to talk. I know that we have a big knowledge in this room. We could share it, or we could take it with us without sharing it. It's our choice. For me, personally, I think that we are all coming from same society, community, or even you can talk about nationality, internet nationality. We are all internet citizens. In Southeastern Europe, we share similar problems, and let's talk about them. Thank you again for coming here, and we will start with first session with our moderator, Vojislav Rodić. Voja. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Vojislav Rodić. I'm chair of conference of .rs. And in this first session, as I personally met most of you, half of you for the first time, and also sure that all of you don't know each other, we will get together this day and further on. I would like to give you a brief outlay of our first session, which is designated to last 19 minutes up to 2 hours. So first, we will hear from Ludwig Wolf as EuroDIG organizer, then Ilya Bazljanikov from Bulgaria about the forthcoming EuroDIG event in Sofia, the conference, then Sorina Telenau from Romania about the EuroDIG Southeast Europe, Andrea Becali. Andrea, I think you are here, okay. He will speak from the ICANN's point of view on the Southeast Europe activities. Then Dusan or Zoran will speak about the forthcoming RIPE event at the end of April. Natasha Glavar from Croatia will present a few of your projects. I think it's e-citizen and the education, whatever you have ready. And whether you have a presentation or just describe it, it's okay. You don't have all to be pressed to have a presentation. Then we'll have a representative from Serbian e-government, Dusan Stojanovic, the manager, who will tell us about this very successful project. Also, a representative from the Serbian Ministry of Trade, Tourism and Telecommunications, who will speak about the academic network. Barbara Povšek-Golob from Slovenia will tell us about the IDN experiences in Slovenia. And in the end, I will speak about the Serbian IDN experience after full 3 years of use. So I will ask Mr. Ludwig Wolf to take the stand and give us a big picture.
Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this invitation and the opportunity to present EuroDIG, what stands for the European Dialogue on Internet Governance. After reflecting how we can, and I think it's a good opportunity to use this event and to use this forum for a kick-off and a mobilization step for EuroDIG in June, and explaining the context of EuroDIG could be perhaps somehow boring, or could be perhaps more interesting if I just tell you the story, how the whole thing happened. Like many other initiatives, projects, or success stories, the start of EuroDIG happened in a rather unconventional way. It was in June 2008. There was an ICANN conference in Paris, and in the course of this ICANN conference in Paris, there was a small group of Europeans, 8 people, meeting in the evening just for a dinner. So they were sitting in one of the beautiful Paris boulevards outside around a table, having a lot of chats, good food, and the idea bumped up. There were at the time already very few national IGFs. In the United Kingdom was one of the first. There was another national IGF in Germany, but not much more at the time. And the idea was we need a European IGF. Well, good idea, but how? Another problem was we couldn't initially call it European IGF simply because there was a resolution in the European Parliament suggesting, asking for such a European regional IGF. And we, people around the dinner table, suddenly realized we have no authority at all to stand up and to say, hello, from now on we are the European IGF. That was one of the reasons we called it European Dialogue on Internet Governance. To avoid any sort of copyright conflicts with the official term IGF. Therefore, we launched the term EuroDIG, and EuroDIG became part of our program because we wanted to concentrate and we wanted to emphasize dialogue. We wanted to launch a European dialogue on internet governance, meaning including all stakeholders, from the governmental side, from the business side, of course, from the technical community, academia, civil society. What are the conventional pillars of the multi-stakeholder model? So we made some nice drawings on the napkin of the restaurant around the dessert time, and we made some conclusions, some agreements, and we said, okay, we are now end of June. Now there is a beautiful summer ahead, and let's make the first EuroDIG, the first pilot in October in Strasbourg. We were lucky because Lee Hibbert was there, working for the Council of Europe, and the Council of Europe more or less took over the patronage of the first pilot. It happened in Strasbourg in October. It was over summer break organized by 5 people, without any budget, without no authority. We didn't ask anybody for permission. We just did it. And surprisingly, in October, a little bit more than 100 people gathered in Strasbourg, and everybody afterwards said, wow, it worked, what a good idea. So let's try it again. So we tried it again the year after in Geneva and in Madrid. So EuroDIG has to be flexible. The event must be balanced all over Europe. So once we have been in the north, in Stockholm, 2012, it was after Belgrade. One of the first events happened in end of May 2011 in the Sava Center here in Belgrade. It was a great event. And every EuroDIG slowly by slowly became bigger. The agenda settings are always, the procedure is more or less the same, but the outcome, the program itself, differs from year to year because there are always some sort of new priorities. I want to close it down by now. After, I think now 8 events, we can say with the success, finally EuroDIG became the European IGF. It's now recognized by the European Commission. It's recognized, I think, by the European Parliament. there are no questions anymore about this or about our legitimacy. So we just did it, like many other success stories in the internet field, where nobody asked any government or any business authority for any permission. Just do the right thing. And I think it helped over the last years to promote, to facilitate discussions about some of the key issues we face in Europe. When I talk to business people, one of the first arguments I hear is fragmentation. There is no such a thing like a real European common or single market. There are still too many very different national legislations preventing or hampering innovation. So a lot of business people really see a key issue in this direction. For governmental people, they have other concerns. There is still a sort of tendency of over-regulation. There is still a lot of governmental people who think they could, by governmental approaches, solve problems, what I personally more and more doubt. Internet governance, per definition, is said and meant to be universal. So forget about the old Westphalian principles. The old Westphalian principles were based on sovereignty and territoriality, what were after the 30 Years' War in the 16th, 17th century. In 1648, the famous peace treaty from Osnabrück came up, and the nation states were based, following afterwards, were based on key principles of national territoriality and sovereignty. And as we all know, this doesn't count in the digital age any longer. But there are still governments who believe in this, and we can only, I think, overcome such misunderstandings by dialogue, by sitting together, talking these problems. And one of the, besides its success, and I will stop here afterwards for the moment, besides its success, of course, EuroDIG, over the last couple of years, also had some lacks. One of the major lacks, from my perception, was there was too much from Western or Northern European perspective. Also the number of people involved, and it was partly not really evitable. So it was a challenge from the beginning, and it will be our next challenge to make EuroDIG pan-European, inclusive for all parts of Europe, overcoming, bridging the gaps we still have between middle, north, west, and southeastern European countries. And this is the next challenge. That was one of the reasons, and Ilya will afterwards explain in more detail, that was one of the reasons why we were pleased, having had the offer from Sofia, from Bulgaria, to organize EuroDIG 2015 in Sofia. This is the next challenge, this is the next step, and I think we will have a great opportunity to also concentrate our program on key issues, on hot issues, what is relevant for people from the southeastern European countries. Because day-to-day realities may differ, there may be different access issues, there may be different other points and problems, and it must be discussed. And it was also a great initiative, and Sorina will talk about this after Ilya, that there will be a pre-event, what is a good tradition, the day before EuroDIG, and the pre-event particularly concentrates on the situation of southeastern European countries, and it is organized mainly by people from the region. So this is the next challenge, the next opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. It will be, so much I can promise, it will be exciting again, it will be different from last year. And you have probably seen these nice postcards. Take it as an invitation. And I hope I will meet as many of you soon again in June in Sofia. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Ludwig. Great storytelling is the best way of presentation. Now, Ilya, would you please take the stand and tell us what can we expect in Sofia?
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank to Dusan and Danko for the invitation. I decided to use this opportunity to see Belgrade again after the great event last year and to escape from the snow in Sofia. Wolf gave a good overview of EuroDIG, and now as a local host I would like to give some more details for this year event. How we started in Sofia. Well, my personal goal is to, since 2011, is to organize events, bring international expertise to Sofia. So I started with the domain forum event, which this year will be for the fifth time. Over the years, we tried also to organize an ICANN meeting, which turned out not possible. And with my experience, I noticed that the local community doesn't know what is internet governance. When I talk about internet governance, people, like the majority of them, still think that is a process for the governments to regulate the internet. And I wanted to start the discussion in Bulgaria, and we talked with Wolfgang Kleinwachter. And last year we had the ICANN Studienkreis event in Sofia, a two-day discussion with the ICANN president and others. It turned out a great success, and people still refer about it. In the meantime, I talked with Sandro in the last year meeting in Singapore, ICANN meeting in Singapore, that although we don't have enough budget from the local community, we can try to organize something bigger, like EuroDIG. I attended the last EuroDIG in Berlin, and we started the process. In the my advantage is that I know most of the Bulgarian community, and we work with the local government IT ministry, and I'm happy that they are our local institutional partner for this year, EuroDIG. They provide support, they provide people. The only thing they don't provide is money. But we still rely on external sponsors, and the local community will provide something little for the event. In Sofia, the EuroDIG will be on 4th and 5th of June, but it wasn't enough for me, so I tried to bring more and more events. After this kickoff event here in Bulgaria, it will be organized a Bulgarian Web Summit in April with some introductory internet governance discussions, also technical development, which will be part of the process. Then on 3rd of June will be the regional event in Southeastern European event in Sofia, which Surina will talk about later. But before that, on 1st and 2nd of June, I've been approached by by local partners in the city of Russe and Varna that they also want to organize something smaller for their communities because they cannot travel to Sofia. So at the end, the first week of June turned into a Bulgarian Internet Week with 4 events confirmed for the moment. Also, we'll have the US Domain Fest dinner or something, which is a 5th event, and also other side events for EuroDIG. How many people we expect? Personally, I expect like more than 400 people this year. Half of them from outside Bulgaria, half of them locals. The problem is I see the most interest in the government. The business tells me this is not for us. This is not something we are interested in. And with some meetings I will have until June, I will try to convince them. We have prepared a Bulgarian brochure. What is internet governance, why it's important for the business. And we now in the last ICANN meeting in Singapore, I even learned that some people from the USA wants to come to Sofia. For invitations, everyone is welcome. You receive this card. We try to provide, currently under discussion, but we try to provide some funding for the region, for Sofia. So you can contact the secretariat or me. We have, let's say, at the moment 5. We can send 5 people from the Southeastern European region to Sofia. That's thanks to the local business. And also we will send some students from Bulgaria to EuroDIG as a fellowship. We have partners in Russe and Varna, so the University of Russe will organize a competition, and some business groups in Varna will send somebody. For us as an experience, currently the preparation is smooth. We had some issues with the government, not understanding the process, not understanding the invitations, but at the end it turned out good. And I'm here. I have a business card, so for anything you can contact me. And I hope to see you in Sofia very soon. Now it's March, so it's but in 2 months I think EuroDIG will be a great success. Thank you.
Very much, Ilya. I think that goodwill is the most, and enthusiasm is the most important ingredient when preparing such events. And the funds will come later, one way or another. So, Serena, are you ready? Of course, no problem. I give you the mic.
Thank you. I am more comfortable sitting at the same table with everyone. So since I don't know many of you, my name is Sorina Telanu. I come from Romania. I work for the Romanian Parliament, and I've been involved in IGF, EuroDIG, ICANN for several years. I will start by thanking RNIDS for hosting this event and for giving us the opportunity to talk about EuroDIG, what Wolf already did, and about the Southeastern European event. Now I will talk briefly about this Southeastern European event and how we started it and what we want to do with it. It again started at an ICANN meeting. I see Andrea is not here, but ICANN is a sort of a catalyzer for these kind of events. It was in June last year where a bunch of people from Southeastern Europe were again sitting at an informal meeting and discussing about us in the regions and problems we have and where we discuss them. And we realized that, yes, it's true, many of us from the region go to IGF meetings, go to ICANN meetings and EuroDIG meetings, but still our number is smaller than the number of representatives of other regions. So we need to do something. We need to raise more awareness, we need to attract people to these kind of events, and we need to create a space for us in the region to discuss internet governance issues that are particularly relevant for us, and which may not be that relevant for the rest of Europe. So this is how it all started. Then we got support from EuroDIG, and given that they are having the meeting this year in Sofia and in the region, this came as a very good opportunity to organize our Southeastern European event in the context of EuroDIG. So now it's a pre-event for EuroDIG, and we call it Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance, borrowing the name from EuroDIG. So thank you again, Wolf and the EuroDIG, for helping us with this event. It's a one-day event, and the aim is again to do some capacity building on internet governance for stakeholders from the region, to explain a bit what internet governance is, how it all started, what are the internet governance processes, organizations, entities, how to get involved, why we should get involved, and all kind of things related to that. And then go into debates on issues that are relevant for our region. And we have identified some topics that we want to be debated at the event. We have this first session, which will be the introduction on internet governance. Then we will have a session on multi-stakeholder internet governance mechanisms at national level. And this will start with an explanation of what multi-stakeholderism is, drawing from the IGF and the definition they have somehow adopted last year at the Best Practice Forum on multi-stakeholder models. And then we will go into sharing of best practices from the region, because we do have some good practices in the region when it comes to multi-stakeholder models. We have the RNIDS model, a CCTLD model, which is multi-stakeholder, unlike some other registries in the region. We have national IGF initiatives, and we have here someone from the Russian IGF. And we have some other initiatives in some countries in the region for the creation of some sort of committees on internet governance, which are meant to, I don't know, frame the evolution of internet in the country, but in a multi-stakeholder, bottom-up approach, not only governmental driven. So this will be sharing experiences and learning from each other and looking into how these models can be replicated into other countries in the region, if this is relevant, if this is possible, how to move forward. Then we will have a session on human rights for internet users, again comparing the theoretical approaches and nice international frameworks like the resolutions adopted by the Human Rights Council in the UN or some guides from the Council of Europe, and how these are or can be actually implemented in our countries when it comes to human rights for internet users. Because we do have challenges, so the question is, how do we address those challenges? And then the last session will be dedicated to domain names. We will have again an introduction because again we hope to have this event as a sort of a capacity building event first. So explaining what domain names are, what are the registries, registrar, registrants, what ICANN is doing, what the regional internet registries are doing. And then go into IDNs because this is a topic that is relevant or particularly relevant for our region. And again, awareness raising, explaining IDNs, and then sharing of best practices from the region, IDNs that have been delegated or which are in the process of being delegated and implemented, explaining the concept, explaining why they were created, why they are important for users in the region, and how to replicate these kind of models for others who would be interested in launching IDNs. So briefly, this will be our event. Now, as Wolf said, this is a bottom-up thing. There is a group of stakeholders from the region. We have a mailing list, which is kindly hosted by RNIDS, which is open to everyone. You are all kindly invited to help us in the organizing process. We now are in the process of building these sessions, so any input you have is more than welcomed. We have an overarching theme also for the event, which is multi-stakeholder internet governance from global debates to Southeastern European realities, again to reflect the move from what's being debated at global level to what are the realities in our region. So we have that mailing list. You are all invited to join it and help us prepare the event. We have an email address, which is ECE, Southeastern Europe, @indgoforum.org. And we have virtual meetings. We organize them from time to time to discuss about how we plan, organize the event, how we do outreach, how we attract people. And this is a challenge we have. If we want this event to be successful, if we want it to really be capacity building and awareness raising, we need people there. So we are counting on all of you to come to our event and to help us spread the word and get as many people as possible there. Thank you. And if you have questions or already ideas on how to help us, you are more than welcome to contribute. Thanks.
Please keep this toy on it. Thank you very much, Sorina. Now I will ask Andrea Beccali to give us ICANN's point of view on Southeast Europe. Take the stand, please. If you have a presentation.
No, I don't have a presentation. I'll just, can you hear me? Wow. Okay. So I just learned yesterday, first of all, good morning. Dobro jutro. I mean, I'm amazed from the warm welcome, from the level of discussion, from the organization point of view, from last night party. I'm really happy to be here, and I really sincerely want to thank you for whatever you organized that. So I just learned yesterday that tradition of this region is straight talk and just to be frank and direct to the point. So I didn't want to put on the screen ICANN presentations because personally I don't think they're very straight. But unfortunately, as staff, we have little room to modify the text of the ICANN presentation. So I'll just go with some points. And how much time do I have? Okay. So sit back and relax because it's gonna be. I'm kidding. So I just have a few points to share with you on ICANN perspective on the region, but also globally. And I would like to hear from you also your thoughts, and I hope after this presentation we'll have some more questions about that. So first thing, and I think yesterday, it came across quite straight also from Jean-Jacques, increase participation. I mean, ICANN has been engaging now. I joined ICANN 2 years ago in a tremendous effort to open up, to change, to include new people, and I think it's the best way also to ensure that ICANN becomes a truly global organization that really responds to the needs of the global internet community, no matter how you define that. So, one, you can participate in all ICANN meetings, but for sure the next ICANN meetings that will be in Europe is going to be in October in 2015 in Dublin. So it's not as far as many as the last ICANN meeting, which was in Singapore, or the coming, which is in Buenos Aires. I think this could be an event that, as European and as Southeastern European, of course, you should really seize and go there and participate massively, and seize all the opportunities that ICANN puts down for helping your support, helping your travel. So you heard maybe about the fellowship program. I know some people in the room have been fellows before, and they can speak about this experience. I think it's a tremendous experience to live and understand what a fellowship program is. But the good news is that even if you're not a fellow, you need to be an early bird. That's true. You have to get up at 7:30 in the morning. There is an ICANN newcomer session every morning with ICANN staff that basically takes you to all the program of the day. An ICANN meeting is a kind of a festival. It's plenty of things going on. Not everything is clear, and despite the fact that 90% of the sessions are open, the fact that you see people really night and tied together, you tend to kind of exclude yourself. And so this session, every morning at 7:30, it's geared to people that come there and they want to participate and experience and have to understand how it works. So they have full support from the staff to go through an ICANN meeting. Another program that I think it's extremely interesting, and I have some flyers here that I'll pass around. It's called Next Generation at ICANN. So this is a program geared to students, both undergrad and graduate students. They're doing their research on internet governance, on ICANN issues, but also larger ICANN issues. Then they can basically write a thesis on these, and ICANN will sponsor their participation to an ICANN meeting. They will have a own session where they can present their work to the ICANN community. So that's another interesting program. Then online, there is a whole series of courses that ICANN has been producing in the past year and a half. It's called ICANN Learn. You also can just Google it. And you will see, you just log in, it takes 3 minutes. You will increasingly see a number of courses that goes from what is ICANN into how the DNS works. And these courses, the plan is to have them translated in 7 languages. So far, most of the courses are in English, and they're getting translated in Spanish, but we will have courses also translated in Russian. And these are short, interactive courses. You have background material you can download, you can log in, and there will be also some live courses like webinar where you just can log in and follow. Then another thing that people I don't know how much they're aware, you can actually apply to leadership position in ICANN, to become a member of the board of ICANN through the NOMCOM, or become a leader in one of the so-called supporting organization, or SOAs and ACs. These are all open positions. They are not, I mean, you have a small, depends on how you look at that, it's not too small contribution for your work there, but these are basically voluntary positions, but it will help you really in understanding and putting your perspective into the ICANN machinery. Then GAC representation. Now, I don't know how many countries from the Southeastern Europe actually participate actively in the GAC. And that's something also quite interesting, because often we see that countries basically are represented in ICANN either only by the GAC or only by some community members and no one from the GAC. And these two things are very separate. So try to work within your country and figure out who's the GAC member and liaise with them. And even if they can come from a mindset or a tradition where government is very vertical, you can play the fact that in the icon environment, it's not that's the way. So you can query and ask them about what's happening in the meeting, to report back. I mean, that would be also another interesting things to take note and to put forward. Then, allow me also to bother you again with the IENA transition and icon accountability. I know that Leonid really loves this issue, and actually, I find myself amazed by the fact, and I can tell you that yesterday's session was by far the largest session with the largest attendance on this issue that I've seen so far. They've been doing these things for quite a long. I mean, we get bombed by ICANN senior management that's our main task is to get the word out, but we struggled. In many countries, we figure out that the interest is low, and at the technical, of course, at the political level, it's very low, but at the technical level, it's very low. And I think as a European, it's a pity, and it's a missed chance to play at the global stage of a key transition, basically of maintaining the shared control of global unique resources, which is the internet. So for the past 15, 16, almost 20 years, I've been hearing complaints from the fact that the US, they have the total control of the root, that they have total control of ICANN, and that they control 10 of the 13 root servers, all these things, which I cannot deny. I mean, has been like that. When I joined ICANN only 2 years ago, 90% of the staff basically was based in Los Angeles, and in Los Angeles, probably, if I asked them, 70% of them never left Los Angeles County, and they had the vision of the world from this particular mindset, and they thought that, as the Americans sometimes do, that they are always on the right side, and the rest has to follow because they are the champions. In a way, this mentality was hardwired in ICANN because that was what it was born. When the new CEO joined, he made this commitment with the staff and with the community to change that, to really move the structure, the mentality outside the US, respecting the legacy of the role that the US had, but to make ICANN a truly global organization. And that's something that either you make it, or if you don't make it, I'm not sure that ICANN will survive as it is. Probably there will be something else, and I don't know if it's better or worse. So all that to tell you that the transition, despite the fact that it's a very technical issue, and we saw yesterday details, as a larger, broader kind of geopolitical discussion where you need to have more voices coming to the table. So I don't know if you heard, it was last February 24th, the Senate asked the ICANN CEO, the head of the NTA, to testify at the Senate about the IENA transitions. And you can watch that online. And I studied political science, I lived in the US, so for me it was like I enjoyed that as a football match, actually. As an Italian, I don't like football that much, but I enjoyed that because you could see that high-ranking members of the Senate, they saw this transition in high political, geopolitical, and strategic terms. Of course, with a lot of baggage and rhetoric about the fact that we Americans invented the internet, we want to preserve the freedom, the openness, and mixing a lot of things there. And you can share their views, you can agree with them, you can take all the kind of nuances that they put there, but it's undeniable that there is an attention at that level that you don't see anywhere else. And I can tell you that my office is in front of the European Commission. We go regularly and see the European Commission staff. These are people paid with our money, with my taxpayer money, and they have no clue about that. They're completely lost. They see ICANN as something that is important for the .wine and .ven, or for some little, but they kind of fail in seeing the higher geopolitical discussion that's going on there. And well, the good news is that you don't have to expect them to raise the awareness. You can do that. the whole transition process is open for everybody. The problem that you have here is that you have probably 1,000 people participating in this process, which is time consuming. It takes a lot of emails in your inbox. But if you look, still you see a good core of the all same people. And that's something that I fear it won't be a good ingredient to get to a new stage. So still we have time, but I really ask you to seize this opportunity, seize the openness, and to understand that the level of discussion is beyond updating a database, but it's really kind of figuring out, well, we have the internet, we experienced the internet for the past 15 years. If you ask a 15-year-old boy, tomorrow you won't have internet, probably this guy will just, I don't know, jump off. I mean, it's something unthinkable. But in reality, this transition is also about ensuring that the internet will continue as open, as integrated as it was in the past years. And side to that, there is a whole different process which is linked, which is so-called icon accountability. Now, if you just take away the words and look at what is it, basically, and it's no secret, is rewriting how icon is organized from bottom to top, including how members of the board are elected, how you challenge decision of the board, including under which jurisdiction icon should be accountable for. All these things are open for discussions. And we need new ideas, we need to hear new voices, we need new participants to come there and say, look, for the future of this incredible resource, I think that's the way. If you always leave the room to the same people, you can kind of be sure what will be the outcomes of that. And I close down on the transition. Then, new GTLDs is a topic that caused a lot of thoughts and troubles and sometimes problems within ICANN, but the program is going and has been quite successful. Now you have more than 500 new GTLDs delegated in the route. Whether they will be successful or not, it's up to the market to see. The good news is that the discussion is now happening on whether we should have a new round of GTLDs. And if the answer is yes, which are the rules, which is the set, which are the regulations for that? It's not going to be the same as the previous round, because the previous round also identifies some loopholes into the process. So again, that's the time now to join and participate in this discussion, to be able to shape the next round and the decision on how, when, and how much this thing will cost. So discussion is already undergoing. I really suggest you to jump in, because at the end the DNS is a quite powerful and flourishing business, and it creates, we saw yesterday the opportunities that creates the .rs website, I mean domain. So it's also like an impulse to the economic growth. You can see under this lens. What else I wanted to, yes, for the region now. Another thing that I don't know if comes through straight, but ICANN is putting a lot of resources in trainings, raising awareness, capacity buildings. Seize those opportunities. So if you want to have a better understanding of how the DNS work, or how the DNSSEC works, how to have, I don't know, an IXP into your country. Don't hesitate to contact me or to reach out to ICANN. We can bring the people here. We can bring the material here. We can bring the expertise here. We often get contacted mainly for this kind of trainings by security agencies, by police, postal police, by the Interpol, because they want to know how they counter crime on the DNS. But that's not only the only resource that you can tackle for. So we do a lot of trainings that are not well known. So I encourage you to go into the website or to ask me and to seize this opportunity for basically taking advantage of the resources that ICANN has. On one thing about the new GTA list, which is also linked to resources. You might heard that like yesterday came out. Through the auction for contested new GTA list, contested strings, ICANN is accumulating a good bunch of money in the numbers of millions of dollars. Now, so far these millions are all in a bank account. They are not to be used for any operation of the ICANN. The decision on how these things has to be used and implemented is up to the community. And really, the discussion is coming now because ICANN is a not-for-profit organization, is piling up a lot of money, how this money should be used. And I can tell you from the inside, from how the president of the ICANN thinks, there is a big push to use this money to do more capacity building, to help and equalize the process in the ICANN. Just to touch upon the multi-stakeholder process and the equal footing, one of the big flaws of the multi-stakeholder process is that if you're in the room, you maybe participate into the discussion. If you're in the room with 10 people, you participate in discussion, you have a big influence on that. And everything is on equal footing, so the one that speaks more and louder probably gets his own way. I mean, no form of governance is perfect democracy either. Yes, it flows. So you need to address those issues, and putting resources to address those issues is one of the ideas that we would like to see developed within ICANN. As a model for the region, and we will have a session in the multi-stakeholder model, that's something that fascinates me because I keep going around, mainly in Western Europe countries. I go often to Italy, to Spain, to France, to Germany. And we always push the multi-stakeholder model, and we use the Brazilian model. Now, Brazil in Europe is well known for soccer, for samba, and for nice carnival costumes, but not much for a model to manage the internet at all levels. But they did have a model which is extremely successful and powerful. They have the so-called CGI.br, which is the Committee for the Management of the Internet, which is a foundation. It's 19 years old. It's independent from any ministry, but it has a board with 8 ministries represented and stakeholders from all the different stakeholders group. They manage the .br domain, and from that they get also the money. And this money, since it's a foundation, is always invested to do more research. So they became probably one of the most important, the leading institution for research on the internet issues. And they got a really strong recognition that allowed Brazil to play on the global stage and to punch above the waist, as to say. So when I see these things, when I discuss about these things in let's say, Western Europe, the feeling that I get is, you know, especially with the French you get, but also with the Italians, it's like, anyway, I mean, we invented democracy, but anyway, I mean, we are far ahead, and we don't need to learn any lessons. And they are losing ground, and actually they are little dwarf into the discussion, even within ICANN. They can puff their chest, but at the end they are not as influential. When they want to be influential, they do like in the ICANN 15 London. They send the ministry, the French ministry, to just punch the table and say, I don't agree with that, and then they disappear. But they don't have a strong model. So I think that I see the potential here to be the next CGI.br, to do not go all the way across the Atlantic and look at the Brazilian model, but to do something and to build something here that is strong, that is a good, and I think at the end of the day, the best way to manage the internet at all levels, because the internet is a network by definition. You can have a network with a top and an end. The network is just spread out. You just need to ensure that all the nodes are connected. So if you take the idea and bring it forward, you rest assured you will have all the support you need from ICANN to build a solid model. And just to conclude, this one is going to be, as I said before, a key year for ICANN. The transition, of course, is taking most of our resources. but we have to get it straight, and it's important that everybody participates. In my own view, if it's only a few months ahead now, probably will be delayed, but not by far. If we come again at the end with a proposal that is not globally shared, that is not sustained by contribution of different stakeholders across all the world, particularly key regions, we'll have hard times to be accepted. But we won't have any way to fall back and go back to the US. If you go back to the US, it's like, sorry, we lost, and I don't know how things will be playing after that. So I hope I didn't bore you too much, and thank you again for having me, and looking forward for the rest of the discussion. If you have questions, insights, if you strongly disagree, please come through. I really like these straight talks, and I have some resources here, and thank you again. Dobro.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Especially thank you for the remarks about the organizational culture, because we know that culture is strategy for breakfast. And it's one of the most difficult tasks, changing the organizational culture. Before I give the mic to Zoran Perović, who will talk about the forthcoming RIPE event, I would like to comment on Dušan's answer to a question, how much time do we have? That reminded me of the ISP's plan. You know, you have plan 1, plan 2, plan 3, unlimited. But when you use a lot of internet, then they tell you, well, it is unlimited, but it's not infinite. So, Zoran, having this in mind, please.
Hello. Sorry for being late. My name is Zoran Perović. I'm vice chair of the board at RNIDS. Also, I am managing director and owner of Serbian Open Exchange, an internet exchange located here in Belgrade. And I am, how it's called, consultant to the Ministry of Culture on the project of digitalization of cultural heritage. Nice to see so many familiar faces. And I would like to talk about RIPE NCC meeting that will take place end of April, 21st, 22nd. It is a 4th regional meeting organized by RIPE and heavily supported by ISOC, by Internet Society. The first one was held in Dubrovnik, the second one in Skopje, third one in Sofia. This year we managed to how to say, motivate RIPE NCC to come to Belgrade. Next meeting probably will be in Albania, whether at Tirana or somewhere else, I don't know yet. So RIPE SEE4 is mainly technical conference, but there will be a 2-day, a lot of panels, a lot of round tables, a lot of presentations. IPv6, DNSSEC, security, CERT, ENISA will have a presentation. CERT from Croatia will come. Also, we will have some operators' presentations about different aspects of managing networks. But we will also touch internet governance. We will also touch all the things that that influence good and open operation of the internet today. So as we heard a couple of minutes ago, communication, cooperation, collaboration, building capacity, that is what this is all about. So it will be mainly technical with a lot of interesting hot topics. We will talk also about software-defined networks. We will talk about DDoS attacks, protection, but we will also talk about transition of the internet governance. So I invite all of you to register. It will be held in this same hotel. 350 people we expect. Already we have 200 registered. Still we have some openings for presentations and for interesting topics. So feel free to submit. And on the RIPE site, ripe.net, you could find all the agenda, all the topics, program committee. There are 12 members of a program committee, and 4 of us are from this room. So please feel free to register, feel free to come. I think it will be a very, very interesting and important meeting, event, conference. Okay.
Thank you very much. Natasha, are you ready now to tell us about the Croatian experience?
Okay, it works. My name is Nataša Glavar. I come from Croatian Academic and Research Network, and we run the DNS operation in Croatia since 1993. And maybe a few words about that. It's defined that DNS operations and Carnet role in it is defined by the law on electronic communication. And in that particular part of that law, it's defined that the way those operations are run by Carnet should be in correlation. In fact, some proposal is done by Carnet, and then with that proposal, three different Croatian ministry has to agree upon that. So in a way we can say that from the beginning of those operations ran by Carnet, it's some kind of multi-stakeholder model is implemented in our way of doing those operations. We put a lot of effort to try to bring here someone from the Ministry of Governance, who are last year launched the project, national project. E-Citizens is the name of that project, and the main goal is to enable Croatian citizens to consume various kind of public services online. So Carnet has we could say not a huge role, but I would say important one in that project because we designed and developed the user credentials, mobile ones, for identifying users in that e-citizen project in order to use those public services available via that e-citizen project. So more or less it's everything I can say about this project. As I said, unfortunately no one from Ministry of Governance came who could tell much more about that, but if you are interested, maybe with our cooperation, which was not very successful so far in bringing them to some this kind of discussions, but I think they would be glad to share their experience in that important project. Anyone who would like to know something more about this, I can share links, or maybe I can send you Dusan, and then you can about the project. I'm not quite sure whether it's English version, but it's more or less self-explanatory, and it's becoming more and more populated with the new services that became available via this project. In fact, it's some kind of platform that enables every institution inside the public sector, yes, in Croatia to present and enables using those services via this platform. Okay, that would be about that, and maybe a few words about our initiatives in area of internet governance. There is a strategy of national strategy on the broadband infrastructure development in Croatia, and some parts of that are in fact in the role of some parts of that strategy is in internet governance in Croatia. And I would say that main role in these initiatives is done by the Croatian authority on internet industry, regulatory agency or regulatory authority of the internet industry in Croatia. So a colleague of mine, Zdravko Jukic, would add if he thinks that something should be added. And CARNET has some role in that strategy, and apart from the strategy in internet governance initiatives in Croatia. So I can mention a project that is launched about, I think, 2 years ago, and it's done with the cooperation with the Croatian regulatory agency. Its role is to enable internet users in Croatia to measure their internet connectivity speed in order to evaluate whether their agreement with the internet service provider is completely fulfilled, so that user is not in some position that would put him in not appropriate position to pay something that he wasn't delivered. So that application is, its name is Hakometer. Hakom is Croatian name for our regulatory agency on telecommunication industry, and meter is a meter, of course. So it's a Java application that could be downloaded on the desktop, on the device of every internet user who would like to check their internet speed of their internet connectivity, and it's some rules in a way that these measurements should be done. So it should be repeated a few times in more or less the same time. So it's detailed described how those measures should be taken, and after that, internet service provider that had an agreement with that particular user who has complaints for their connection has to do something about that. Explain why did it happen, was it exception or was not, or to propose something to user in order to make this more comfortable for him. We also by our national authority on regulation of internet industry was proposed recently to form some kind of national internet governance forum. So some concrete activities haven't begun yet, but we expect to be some. Maybe Zdravko could say something more about that if you wish. And we expect, we as Croatian Academic and Research Network also expect to have some role in that forum. So it would be that.
Mr. Jukic, would you like to add a comment?
Thanks very much. What Natasha said, just some brief clarification or addition that we are in Croatia planning to organize first ever Croatian national IGF, and it should take place in the beginning of May. So we are trying to organize something very similar to all these initiatives, bottom up, and to have all the relevant stakeholders taking part in that. And we also plan to invite some initiatives from the region to our event in the beginning of May. Thanks.
And now the Serbian e-government. Dusan Stojanovic, are you ready? Would you like to take a stand? Or thank you.
Rodиć. I'm the director of Directorate for E-Government. I will be very short because actually I showed this slide several times in the last few months, but I will be here to discuss with you after this presentation. My idea is just to briefly show you how we see the road of implementation of e-government in next few years. So, Directorate for e-government is a government body which belong now to the Ministry of Public Administration and Local Self-Government. It is the former Directorate for Digital Agenda in previous government, and we were in Ministry of Telecommunication and Trade, but it is the same body, same people, same tasks. If we talk, we can discuss, if you want to, later about institutional framework for e-government, because actually I'm the guy who always talk about the situation in government, that we should belong to the maybe Prime Minister cabinet. We will be very happy to be there, because then a lot of things will be easier for us. But if we have to choose one of ministries, we can easily choose, of course, Ministry of Telecommunication. But of course, today our Ministry of Public Administration, Local Self-Government is also good, because we have secret aim, and I will show you in presentation. So, how we see? Sorry, how we see that? Okay, we see that our new road should be to start working on some very important questions together with all ministries, with the whole government. And I see that infrastructure for e-government is something that we have to build very, very quick. So it is, of course, legislation, it is data registries, it is interoperability, services for citizens, and education. This is something that you can find out in our strategy. It is still draft of strategy, because we shared this document with delegation of EU, and we are waiting for their comments. Actually, it was several sessions with them, and they are very satisfied with our action plan, which is now, for me, the important part of every strategy. And after that, we expect to have this strategy on government in March. But after that, after this presentation, I can share with you this last version we have on English and on Serbian, if you want to see and to comment, because our strategy is a public document. We want to include every part of society and all parts of governments, NGO sector, private sector. So please ask for strategy and comment. So this is something. This is 5 stones. Because of that, we have Stonehenge on this picture of our strategy and our road how to have e-government and e-society in Serbia in next few years. If you're talking about legislation, we see two roads. Actually, we have a current state of the legislative framework, and we recognize several laws that we have to change immediately, and the process of changing already started. Of course, the main thing is how to change the law of general administration procedures. We know that this law is, for us right now, very good in one sense. For example, in that law right now is written, if some public part of government or some organization have something to share with other organization, because some citizen wants to have something, it is allowed to take this data from that part of government. But still, we have people who are going like mailmans through the whole part of government and asking for another document. This is the problem. The problem with this law, because we don't have punishment for the bodies who don't work according to this law. So we have to change that. And there is several laws, of course, that we should change. It is, for example, law of public administration, law of local self-government, law about on e-business. We are working on all these laws right now, but we have, you know, this some new laws that have to finish. It is before all other laws. It's law on archives, but we have one dilemma. Because of that, I put and or. And this is this picture shows us should I stay or should I go, on which way to take. It is maybe to do something that Montenegro guys already done and create one brand new law about e-government. Right now we are closer to the idea to have both of these things, to change the current state of legislative framework, but to fill all holes on gaps with new law about e-government. So right now we already started these activities, and I think that during this year we will prepare this law, which will help us to fulfill all gaps in law in legislative framework. Second stone, of course, is registers. I know a lot of you, and I know that you know about the situation with data that we have the identities of people or citizens in several databases, and this several is not few of them, it is 10 or 20. The situation in our e-government sector is something like this. If somebody wants to have something, some service for citizen or business, and if he needs to have data, the usual thing is to create their own database with all identities that he needs. So because of that, we have a lot of Mr. Šabić in these newspapers, because, and I think he's right, we have identities on we don't know how many places. And we want to create the holy grail of e-government, and it is a unique register of citizen. We think that it is very important to have. All modern countries who has e-society has this, and we think that one of these registers has to be a unique register of citizen. All of these registers that I show on this slide is just few of registers. Of course, we work on all registries. We want to connect all registries in one unique data pool, and to create something, some procedures, some rules, how to connect them and how to exchange data between them. This shark is because of Mr. Šabić, because we have to take care about data. Yeah, okay. So third stones is rules. Yeah, okay. My kitchen, my rules. So we want to create, but it is not my kitchen. The government says my kitchen, my rules. Yeah, okay, not me. But we think that we have to have something that we call enterprise governance service bus, and I can show you in few moments that we already have that. Actually, we have everything what we have to do have, and I take a lot of time on every single conference and or some working round table, whatever, to explain people that we have enterprise service bus, because enterprise service bus is a virtual structure. It is not something that we can touch. You know, it is not matter of technology. It is not. Is it a Microsoft or Oracle service bus or maybe X-Road? We have X-Road again. It's running in our neighborhood again, and I cannot explain to people that we have that. We have portal e-uprava. Okay, and we are working service-oriented. We have service-oriented architecture. We exchange services with Ministry of Interior, with a business register agency, with Treasury. So we have several bodies that already exchange their services. And we recognize this in strategy that we have to have some catalog of web services very, very quick. because we just need that, and after that I can show you that we have real government enterprise services which is already working, and we have to explain to people, to bodies who are working in this government, how to create these web services. So take a look in action plan for this strategy. I actually don't know a real bullet which is described this situation, but we recognize that we have to have this catalog, we have to have rule book how to create catalog, and after that to share with all part of government and start working on that. Of course, how we see e-government is actually that we have hidden goal. It is not because we belong to Ministry of Public Administration, Local Self-Government. It is a matter of something what is e-government. We actually want to reform our public administration, because we who are working in a government, actually we are paid from citizens in business, and we have to provide you good service. For me, good service is a service which I can start whenever I want to, which takes from me only necessary data. It would be good if I could put this data on one page, one web page, and all other things has to be done in background. So we want to create this goal in a way that we will reform G2G services through G2C services. We want to create complex G2C services which will involve several parts of e-government, like driving license, for example, like car registration. You have to know that we are in some part of e-government very good. Service registration license or car registration over internet is a service that you can find only in 3 countries in Europe. One of them is Serbia. And we have right now, without any marketing strategy, over 40% of people who are now registering their car over portal e-Uprava. So it is 800,000 people registered their car this year, actually last year in 2014, over our portal, without single letter on some newspaper actually I spoke with Ministry of Interior and my boss, Ms. Korija Udovički, and I recognize this idea as a good idea, and the idea is to close all boxes for people and just show them portal, just go there and register your car over internet. So this will help us to actually put closer e-government and portal e-Uprava to the people, because we have over 2 million cars in Serbia, and also this will help us, this help to our budget, because we have leak of almost 40 million euros per year on some cheats that people put some 10 dinars and then they put 2 other zeros and they paid 1,000, and it is not. And because Ministry of Interior doesn't have this authorization personalized. If you pay on regular box or regular bank this tax, they cannot find you. They don't know it is not linked to your car registration. So, but if you go to the portal, we know exact time when you paid what amount for what car, and we can trace you, we can find you, and actually you cannot register your car before you have green light on portal that your paid is in our system. So if you want to put 0% on corruption, you have to involve e-Uprava, e-government, our portal, and all services through our portal. And this is it, anti-corruption tool. E-government is anti-corruption tool. So, of course, on the end, my favorite cartoon, and he showed us long life learning. On Serbian, jokes are better, but I have to translate in English, so, and pictures are better. So what does it mean? It is mean that nobody knows for portal, you know. When somebody says, oh, 40% of registration, it is good. I said, no, it is, it is still, we have 60% of registration that we can finish and realize our portal. You know, people don't know that what we can do. So we took 2014 to explain to all other parties and our colleagues from government what we can do for them and what we can provide them. And this 2015 we will spend to explain to citizens that we have some very good tool and we want to help them. For example, we put in November 2014 announcement that we will create the service according to the citizens' requests. And we put one little competition, please create your service. If it can be done, we will done. If you will vote, and etc. You know, I don't know, we have maybe 100 or 200 people who they put something, but you know, and the price was good. It was not iPhone 6, you know, but it was, you know, mobile phone, something Samsung, some S4, something like that. So it was a good price. But still, people don't know. They don't know they have portal and to do what to do and etc. So we will took this 2015 to explain people that they should come on portal and personalize their page. Actually, and I will close my presentation with this statement. When my boss asked me last week, "What is your vision?" and I said, "My vision is one-stop shop in every single home." So this is something that we want to create in the next 3 years. Thank you.
I would like to make a personal comment on my experience with e-government about 1.5 years ago, when my driver's license was up for renewal. Before internet, you will have to go to a police station, check how many payments you have to make. It's not much money, 10 to 15 euros, but 3 or 4 different payments. Then you go back to the police station. You cannot do that from your bank account electronically, because you have to give them a physical proof. And then you wait for the new driver's license. Let's say about 6 months before, I opened my account on e-government, and I just didn't know what to do with it. You know, like when you open a Twitter account, so what now? Then I heard that driver's license can be renewed. Oh, I forgot about the picture. Now, you can choose whether you want a new picture or the one that's already on your ID card. I went to my e-government account, put in my personal ID card into card reader. It was very fast, just a few steps. Do you want your picture from the present ID card? I said yes. So I don't have to go to a Photoshop again. And then it was, let's say, 9-10 p.m. I got one account where I had to pay maybe less than 2,000 dinars, so around 15 euros. And it was night time. I made the payment on my bank's portal, but it will go only in the morning. So I said to myself, let's give them 3 days, then I will write again. Tomorrow at 9:15, I got a message. Your payment has been received. The new driver's license will be ready in a week. Check with your local municipal police station. So I went to police station just once, next Friday, to pick up the new driver's license. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I praise you on Twitter and networks as a satisfied customer.
Thank you. It's good to see that somebody is actually using portals. I want to tell you that you also have a possibility, if you want to, you can check your mobile phone and you can get the SMS, your driving license is ready, please pick up, and then we choose what is the best police station for you. So we put the SMS, you can pick your driving license in that
what is the criteria for choosing the best police station? The closest one?
It will be addressed from your personal ID card.
Okay, thank you.
But you can also choose it if you want to.
Okay, because there are other criteria. I go to the police station which is on the municipality with fewer inhabitants. So I got carried away this morning when announcing that Barbara and I will be speaking. We are actually in the IDN model, and we have now one speaker, Leonid, who will present us the forthcoming IGF event in Moscow, and then we have a break. So you are between us and coffee.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Leonid Todorov. I'm loosely associated with the Russian Registry Coordination Center for the Russian top-level domains, and I'm also the, this is my prime job and major job, I'm the general manager of the Association of Asia-Pacific top-level domains since mid-February. Well, let me start with, you have that snapshot of actually my personal computer. As you can see, good husband and good wife. It has nothing about our relationships at back home, but it's just my wife's translation because she's trying to to master the English language. Anyway, so I am privileged to be not only here but at some different events associated with internet governance, and I found that there are basically, because of globalization, there are three mainstream models which we all follow. The first one is American, which is very typical, and it's probably what we observe here with some presentations, except for, in the United States, the best thing would be just to go ahead with some jokes so that to break the ice and then to get to some serious topics. Another one, of course, is European, which is very solemn, speakers changing each other in a strict sequence. And I must confess, although Wolf would disagree with me probably, that one of the major defects is that basically all the speakers are on the same page, to the extent that I remember vividly when one of the most distinguished speakers was highlighting on multi-stakeholderism. A colleague of mine, some of you may know him, Andrei Kolesnikov, the CEO of the Coordination Center, actually fell asleep and banged his head against the desk. So that was most confusing. And the third one is, of course, the Oriental or Asian way, when you have a sequence of speakers who do not actually address the audience, rather they read from the paper, pretty much like Mr. Putin does, all the time, all these papers, and it's also pretty boring. So my credo, as well as my colleagues at the Coordination Center, is that we should not be necessarily too much serious about internet governance in particular and some other issues. So we try to build our events in a way so that to well balance, let's say, elements of serious discussion in a proper mixture with some kind of entertainment. So this is one of the examples. I understand that coffee is waiting, but if you could just bear with me for another like 7 to 10 minutes, there will be a 5-minute video which would give you some highlights of what we are up to for each and every event, and that's last year's event. And also, I will tell you very quickly what we're going to do at our already 6th Internet Governance Forum. So if we could please have this video. Now, that IGF, Russian IGF, was under the slogan, at the crossroads of freedom and appropriateness.
2014, exactly 20 years ago, in 1994, the root domain was officially registered. This was the beginning of RUNET. Despite everything, it remains the global network leader. Today, RUZO has almost 5 million registered domain names belonging to 1,007,000 administrators. Every day, more than 4,000 new domains appear, and more than 8,000 existing ones are prolonged. Despite there is a multi-billion internet market in Russia, 77% of domains belong to individuals. The majority of domains is registered in Moscow, 20% of the overall number. The minority on Chukotka, 452 domains. Domains with 710 symbols names are most widespread, 47% of the overall number. The longest domain names consist of 63 symbols. There are 37 domains of this kind in root zone. 35% of domains are younger than 1 year. 798 domains have existed since the very beginning of the zone. There are 27 accredited national registrars in Russia. The youngest one is from Kaliningrad. 1 million domains have been transferred from one registrar to another. Half of the existing domain names are used for real websites hosting, and more than half of them is powered by Russian domain names are used for real websites hosting, and more than half of them is powered by Russian developers' server software and Unix. 5 past years have brought us more than 120 speakers' presentations, attended by more than 2,200 participants. We have discussed 4,321 issues of web security, consistency and development within 500 sessions. 7,927 cups of coffee and 5,640 cups of tea drank during coffee breaks. Forum evening events, essentially accompanied by hot music, have resulted in 160 megacalories burnt, 13 heels broken, 7 pairs of vocal cords broken up, and 1 petajoule of positive emotions produced. We believe this year to be even more productive and positive. This is why we have decided to carry out a quick survey to better understand our web citizens' viewpoint.
Считаете ли вы, что для управления интернетом нужны права как на машину?
Ну, как вам сказать? Ребят, знаете, на самом деле я совершенно с интернетом не связан никак. Да, нет, конечно. Для отдельных личностей, да.
Это в каких?
Для отдельных личностей. Ну, некоторым людям они бы точно, мне кажется, не помешали. Да нет, конечно.
А кто нас управляет интернетом?
Как вариант, как вариант.
Я думаю, что нет. Нет. Наверное. Я как пользователь должна иметь права управления интернетом, но я думаю, что нет. Даже не знаю, не могу сказать.
На перекрестке свободы и целесообразности вы бы в какую сторону повернули?
Чего? Я что-то не понял. Чего вы спросили? Еще раз. Целесообразности и перекрестка.
Интересный вопрос. В смысле?
Свобода и целесообразность? Ну, наверное, скорее всего, вот целесообразность. Ну, чтобы было направо.
Целесообразности.
Налево. Куда меньше дома. Влево. Всегда влево. Влево. Целесообразность.
Мы стоим, сначала говорю, вот, пока зеленый свет, пока не загорится, как говорю, а так мы стараемся не идти.
Кто может быть регулировщиком в интернете?
Ну, не знаю. Не знаю, как комитет по регулировке в интернете.
Не знаю.
Не знаю. Кто самый незаметный человек во вселенной? Не знаю. Я не буду.
Не знаю.
У нас каждый сейчас может быть регулировщиком в интернете.
Я про интернет, я только это самое, я уже отстала.
Не я. Почему? Я не хочу. Видите, никто из запрошенных точно не знает, как именно управлять интернетом.
As you can see, none of the respondents is clearly aware of how to govern internet properly. You are our only hope.
That was it. Follow. Anyway, so speaking of this Russian Internet Governance Forum, we believe that it's very important to market these events simply because we have so many internet-related events. Like, for example, the biggest one is the Russian Internet Forum, which is usually held at the outskirts of Moscow, and there are like every year more than 20,000 applications to attend that event, and more than 4,500 people participating in that. We marketed that intensively over years. We established our brands, not least because we came with come with very provocative titles and explanations for the sessions. Like for this year, we have a session which is which is called, I mean, it's a purely technical session, but some of you may appreciate the title, "We Share the Same Technology," and then in brackets, "Regardless of Ideology." Another one would be all about, you know, BRICS. As you know, Mr. Putin, as well as President of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, they have long toyed with that idea that BRICS can establish a sort of united allied front against the US in terms of internet governance. So we will have interesting speakers. That's another hallmark of ours. We will have speakers from all these BRICS countries. By the way, it was not that easy to find speakers from Brazil, because Brazilians were really upset. They had that event at Net Mundial, and during that, Russians were unnecessarily harsh and tough on Brazil because of being, I would say, not that cooperative in certain sense. So that was partly because Brazil, you know, was late to admit Russia's application for whatever contribution, stuff like that. Anyway, so Brazilians were very upset, and they initially they declined even to come as a protest. We will have, as I told you, all these speakers. Yet another session will be, of course, about the role of government and civil society in shaping that public policy in the internet governance area. And the title is, I guess some of you will appreciate it, although it will be in a stark contrast of what just been told about the Serbian government. By the way, congratulations. The title is "Your Call is Very Important for Us," and then, you know, many dots. And for that session, of course, we will have Russian policymakers. And here is a very important confession to make. Our event, I mean, despite of what you've heard or know about Russia, but believe it or not, our event not only is truly multi-stakeholder and bottom up, but to the extent that government does not step in at all, partly because our Minister of Telecommunications is not interested at all in internet governance, but partly because they realized that they cannot build a successful event by themselves, and they preferred that laissez-faire approach. So every time I would call up the ministry saying, you know what, we would need whatever guidance or whatever advice, would you like this or that session? The answer is, well, you guys decide, just let us know what you need from us. So I ended up by saying that we need 3 speakers for this and that session, so please make sure they show up. And the answer is, yes, sir, here are the names. So I'm very happy about that. By the way, although I believe that it somehow reduces the government's input, because although speakers are very meaningful, but I believe that governments have some role to play and that they should be more active in this regard. So the event is quite popular with the Russian community. This year we already have, in a month prior to the event, we have 357 registered participants. There will be probably another 100. Usually we have like 500 people coming over for that event. I mean, just to draw a comparison, for the Asia Pacific Regional Internet Governance Forum last year, I observed 250 people. You know, that was quite pathetic for a big region. But our problem, of course, is that we cannot cover the whole Russia. You know, it's just impossible. So unfortunately, this event would encompass the territory between Kaliningrad and the Ural Mountains, so 1/3 of Russia. People from Siberia are effectively cut off, and this is one of our major challenges. Unfortunately, this year, when we've started thinking of this, but this year, which is yet another challenge, we are operating under sanctions, which already have their toll on us. And this is a very interesting experience, because I personally remember some events back in 1991, 1992, when Russia was really struggling at the beginning of the economic transition. So we're pretty much in the same square one right now, but it adds, I would say, some gusto to our move. and we're trying to keep up with that job. So no chance, huh? No chance. I'm truly sorry. Yeah, what?
It seems that the router is up, so
okay, so if you could just bear with us for a second, or if we can just go for coffee, and then at the beginning of next session we will try to remedy this. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much.